So if you want to read more and you want to spend more time reading and basically just read more books, how do you actually do it, And by the way, first of all, I want to tell you what the benefits are of reading because it doesn't make sense to start something without really knowing its true benefits. Some benefits are obviously you gain knowledge. Someone has the same problem that you have. Someone reached where you want to reach and they wrote a book about it so you can basically learn from it. That is knowledge sharing, okay? Can save you years. Number two is it exercises your brain. If you have low attention span, you can't really focus and concentrate, reading books will basically exercise your brain and it will make you better at focusing and locking into something because all you can do is basically just read at that exact moment. And lastly, it also is entertaining. Believe it or not, okay? Back in the day, there was no social media, there was no phone, there was no TV or comedy. And what did people do? They read books, a lot of books, okay? And books can be entertaining. I don't want to sound like a teacher or like somebody trying to sell you something, but the answer is they really can be entertaining more than social media sometimes and more than a lot of things because you're locked into a world and you're just basically reading and reading. Now, by the way, guys, I've read over 200 books, but I read my first book from page to page probably by the age of like 16 or like 15 or so. I did not read for a long time because I just thought it was super boring. And in this video, I'll tell you exactly how I got to actually reading a lot more every single day and how I started little by little with small steps and how you can actually do the same. So I'll give you the 5 techniques that I basically use to improve my reading habits and to be able to actually start a book and actually finish a book. Because starting a book is easy. You read the first page, but finishing a book and going all the way through, that's the hard part. Now, if you guys don't know me, I'm Tommy Bryson. Do me a favor and smash the like button. It helps a lot. Now, the very first technique that I recommend is make sure the books you're actually buying and you're planning to read are books on subjects or things that you're actually interested in. And it does not matter if it's not as productive as if it would be, okay? Because at this point, what you're really trying to do is build a habit. And if you're trying to read a book that's basically a textbook and you're not really interested in it, it's going to make you not really like reading and you're probably going to fall asleep. Now, if you read books around topics that you're actually interested in, what's going to happen is you're going to actually look forward to actually reading, even though it might be hard at first, but you're actually going to be like, I can't wait to read that book. So don't worry about, I have to read this book on money. I have to read this book on finance and investing. That's what I love to do. So that's what I basically read the most. But if it's not your thing, don't start reading those. Start reading the things that you're actually interested in, whether it is Narnia or whatever fantasy or fiction book you're actually interested in. Read those first, get into the habit, and then slowly build into the other parts. Whether it's a very hard book, but if there's something in there you're actually interested in, you might actually finish it. So here's the action step. Go out there and buy a book you're actually interested in, or go to the library and rent one. Now, my second technique is you want to set time aside for reading. A lot of people make the mistake of saying, I'm going to read when I have free time. Guess what? There's never no free time, right? So what you want to do is you actually want to set time aside for reading, okay? And what works best for me is basically saying I have 24 hours in a day. I space my time off in 24 blocks. I got this from David Goggins, by the way. And I say, hey, I can use one of these blocks or half of this block for reading instead of doing other things that actually don't benefit me whatsoever. So for me personally, what works the best is, hey, I'm gonna set time aside by waking up a little bit more early and using my first few minutes or the first 10 minutes or 30 minutes or hour of my day just for reading the book I actually want to spend time reading. That works the best because in the morning, it is hard to wake up. Okay, it is hard. So what I would do is basically put the phone far away so you have to get up, put a glass of water there, drink it, and it's gonna wake you up. That works for me. And once you're awake, just basically go ahead and read it. In that moment, it is quiet. There are no distractions. There are no emails. There's no one screaming at you for the most part, unless you have kids and so on. But it's a better time to actually do it early in the morning. Get it out of the way fast. Now, the third thing, the technique I basically have is Set an easy goal. You will hear about the standard of just read 10 pages a day and in 1 month you'll be done with one book. It sounds easy, but reading 10 pages can be basically super hard when you're not used to it. So I recommend just read 1 page a day. Not a sentence, but read a page a day. Like strive for that. Why? Because it's easy, but it's also habit building. And some days you're not just going to read 1 page, you're going to want to read more. So my advice is right now, here's your action step. Set a goal, right? You should have, for example, a book you want to read by now, a time you set for actually reading, and now set a page goal. And I recommend start off with just 1 page a day. No more than that. And if it's way too easy, keep it easy in the meantime and build up to it. You don't want to be a big flame that goes out. You rather be a small flame that builds up and builds up and builds up and just dominates over time. Now, the fourth technique is basically replace your media consumption. Now, we spend a lot of time, for example, for me personally, in the gym, in a car, or just having leisure time. And those times are usually used, for example, if I'm in a car, I might be listening to some podcasts, I might be listening to some music. Same thing with the gym, usually used to be music. With my leisure time, used to be like Netflix and so on. And I basically said, why don't I just replace all this stuff with like reading? Well, Tommy, how do I read while I'm driving or in the gym or actually just like at home, right? It's kind of like not what I want to do. Well, what worked for me the most, and this actually just made me dominant when it came to reading, was basically getting audiobooks. Now, I know what some of you guys are going to say. Tommy, I can't concentrate on audiobooks. I can't hear everything. I just can't remember everything. Guess what? You're not going to remember everything when you're reading physical books either. That's not the point. The point is, instead of listening to dumb music while you're driving or in the gym, put on an audiobook. If you just get, for example, just 10 minutes or 20 minutes out of that whole hour workout, you can actually remember, that's better than trying to remember a dumb song. That's the idea. And if you're home, well, just put on your audiobook while you're cleaning or taking a shower or whatever you're doing, because that's better than just being, for example, on social media or on Netflix or in any of those things, okay? So my advice is this, okay? Here's your action step. Get yourself a book you're going to take with you on a commute. If you take a bus or public transportation, you can actually read. If you don't, get audiobooks to actually take it to the gym or just like on your normal commute. And if you're at home, get yourself like a physical book, okay? I always recommend physical books because it's better because there's no distractions. But if you can get, for example, digital books, I mean, that works fine. I have my iPad that I mostly use for all of my reading. I almost dropped it and cracked it, but I use my iPad for most of my reading and it works pretty good. You know, iPads are great, but guess what? I'm using an iPad. I can instantly just like swipe up and be on another app. So you want to be very careful. I prefer physical books if I actually have them. I have a lot more digital books now because it's expensive to actually get books shipped here where I live. So that's why I have a lot more digital books than I used to back in the day. Now, if you got value so far, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because only about 15% of you guys subscribe, and that means that most likely you're watching this video and you're not subscribed. So subscribe right now. It is free if you got value so far. Now, here's my fifth tip, which is something that I have never done, but I recommend you do, is basically set a goal to actually celebrate when you're done with a book. But Tommy, how do I do that? Blah, blah, blah. The answer is it's easy, okay? So it doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. It could be like, hey, for me, I'm gonna try this myself. So once I'm done with a book, I'm gonna take myself out to eat pizza. Or for example, like get a special coffee at Starbucks or something like that that's like special to like celebrate, or get me a piece of cheesecake. I'm saying things I love to do, okay? These are my personal list, but for you, it could be different. Whatever you actually want to do. That's the point. So this way, it makes you look forward to actually finishing the book. My pastor and his family were reading a book with like, that was dense. It was easy to read, but it was long. And his family said, once we're done with this, we're going to go on a little trip and eat pizza. That's what they did. And to them, that was awesome. And that made them want to keep reading and reading and reading. To me, that's a great technique. So overall, just to summarize here, we have number one is get a book you're interested in. Number 2 is set a time to actually read. Number 3 is set an easy goal, 1 to 10 pages max. Number 4 is replace media consumption with, for example, audiobooks, digital books, or physical books. And lastly, celebrate each time you actually finish a book. Guys, those are things that basically made me a better reader. And by the way, if you're wondering, Tommy, do you only read like a page a day, like 2 pages basically, and like your Bible for 3 chapters? The answer is no. My job is to learn. So when I'm doing videos like this, sometimes I might have to be reading for like an hour and a half or like 3 hours without stopping. But I don't want you to use me as an example and to actually try to do that ASAP. It's not gonna work probably. It's gonna be too much. So I could spend like 3 hours reading a book. 3 hours reading a book. I read for an hour and a half, take a 15-minute break, go back into it, and just basically digest the heck out of the book. But it took a long time to get there. So for the most part, it's a lot of audiobooks I have to keep me busy while I'm doing stuff, and physical books and so on. So do that first and then build up to where I'm at. That's the point. And don't feel bad. Compare yourself to yourself, because that's your best measuring stick. Not me. Compare yourself to yourself. Guys, thanks for watching. Here's another video. And also, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel.